5 real stories about glitches in the Matrix.
Number 5.
Have you ever experienced a time loop? This is one of the weirder things that I believe in. I've only experienced them twice. It's kind of like what they depict in Interstellar. This honestly might sound really weird, but I just don't have any other way to explain it. So the first one happened when I was 22. I was pretty fresh off of a breakup, and I was in like the deepest, darkest mental health pit of my life at that point in time. To the point that I was scaring myself. Like, me and the abyss were really eyeing each other. And on my lowest night, I was sitting on this chair in my bedroom, like weeping. And I remember feeling like this like older woman, like all of a sudden was like hugging me. And I, in my like distressed state, was just like, I don't know if I can make it through this. Like, I've never scared myself this badly in my life before. And like when I felt like this woman was hugging me, I got this like really strong sense of just like, it's gonna be okay. Like, yes, this is hard, but you're gonna be okay. And you're gonna make it through this. And then I remember, I think I like called someone actually in my life for help at that point. And that was the turning point for me at that point in time. I just thought it was sort of weird. I didn't ascribe a ton of meaning to it because honestly, I had much bigger fish to fry at the time. But years later, I did some sort of healing meditation. And in the meditation, I went back to that night, except I was the woman hugging myself. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines of like, you're gonna be okay. This hurts really bad right now, but you're ultimately going to be fine. And then it happened to me again. So years later, I had a friend who was doing the whole van life thing, and she called me up one day really spontaneously and asked me to help her move out of her apartment and into her bus. And so I did. And it ended up being one of those like crazy, pivotal, like life-altering days/nights. I essentially ended up getting offered like a red pill, blue pill situation, the Matrix style, not like the alt-right style. And I cannot emphasize enough how out of character my choice was and how little hesitation I went through. And every time I told this story afterwards, I was always like, I have no idea what came over me to make me like so suddenly do something so out of character. Until a couple of weeks ago when I did an exercise where I wrote a letter to 2016 me. And in it, for some reason, I was like, oh yeah, by the way, there's gonna be this one random day where your friend asks you to help her move into her bus and you should say yes. The thing that I had felt come over me in that moment where I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this shit that's so out of character for me. It was me now. It was my certainty here and now. And I'll tell you what, that was an out of character choice for me then, but it was a completely in character choice for me now. Anyway, what do you think? Do you believe me? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Number 4.
And demand that I wash every single dish by hand, even though we had a dishwasher. So there were around 10 of us, so I think I had like maybe 8 siblings at the time or something like that, so that's a lot of fucking dishes. So he would go in my room with a spoon or something, be like, what is this? And it would be like a spoon with like a little bit of like something on there, right? And I would go into the kitchen because I was like, and this would happen every other day or sometimes every day. And I would go into the kitchen and I would see just these huge pile of dishes, clean dishes. He took dishes, pots, pans, forks, cups, everything you could think of. And they were all sitting on the counter, sitting in a sink, and he was like, wash them. And I would wash them by hand. And I'm 7 years old, I can't even reach the sink. I had to have a stool. And it would take hours, and I would hate it, and I would cry, and I would just be like, whoa. And then the fucking iridescent lights, and just getting wet, and just being like, just, ugh, like I hated it so much. And then one day I decided to take one of those like big steak knives, and I pressed it to my stomach, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I'm going through a mental checklist of what would happen if I were to just press it in, and there's just this voice in my head that's like, don't do it. And I'm just like, it was like, you're gonna regret doing it, don't do it. Like, I swear to God, it wasn't even my voice, it was some voice that was just like, don't do it. And so I didn't. And part of me thinks I did because shortly after that, I was walking in my room and I saw a version of myself, like a copy version of myself, standing there looking at me. And they're wearing the same clothes I'm wearing, and we're just looking at each other. And I'm just like, And And to be honest with you, at that time I wasn't even phased because I had already started seeing like ghosts and spirits and things like that. Like it was a normal occurrence for me. And so the second time it happened was I had been kicked out. Like finally I was free and I had my first taste of alcohol. I was around 19 years old, and me and my ex and his family, we were all out to this like bar, and it was like live music. And I wasn't old enough. I think I was around 19 years old, so I wasn't old enough to drink. And so she brought a vodka bottle. One of the friends brought a vodka bottle into the bathroom, and we're drinking it, right? I don't know. I think at some point I blacked out because the next thing I know, we're at home and I'm still drinking. But then all of a sudden I start having a seizure and I had to be rushed to the hospital. I blacked out because I woke up and I was hooked to IV tubes, and I'm told that like I was lucky to be alive because my blood alcohol was like 4 times like the limit or something like that. I don't really remember. And they're like, if you would have gotten here a little later, you would have absolutely died. And instead of that being like, oh shit, like a wake up call, like I need to do better, I literally was like, perfect. You mean I can expedite my process of dying? And so that's how actually I became an alcoholic, you guys. And I would drink so much to the point where I would black out consistently. I would end up in crazy situations. I would end up in random people's cars, houses, you name it. Like I was actively trying to die. And one day, so I had decided that it was time for me to leave LA. I have packed everything. I'm about to start my new life in LA in like 2 weeks. And so I lived in this building, and how this building worked was that there was the mailboxes and there was the elevator, and they were within arm's length of each other, right? So I would live there for 2 years. I did this almost every day. When I would go and check my mail, I would go down the elevator. I would use one hand to hold open the elevator door, or use my leg, and I would use the other hand to grab my mail. And so only this time, the elevator door fucking closes in my arm and is going up. And for, I don't even know how long, it felt like an eternity. I literally was having like flashbacks of like people jumping up and down, cheering that I never made it to LA, that I died in some freak accident because my arm got caught in the elevator and I bled to death. And I just imagined like, well, if I were to survive, then that means that I will be stuck with one arm and I can't be a tattoo artist, and that means I need to learn how to play the fucking violin or something. Like, I literally started imagining what my life would look like had I died and had I survived. And as I'm imagining this, there's the elevator, the other elevator door is coming down, and this couple walks out, and the woman's like, oh, I like your coat. And I am too shocked to say anything. Like, I can't even scream. I'm just like watching as my arm is going up in the elevator. And they immediately jump into action. They pry my arm out of the elevator door. And I just remember thanking them profusely and just like looking at my arm and seeing this huge fucking dent where the elevator doors have left. And I'm like looking around, there's just mail scattered everywhere. And I was like, wow, that was a close one. And that was the first time that I had been so close. And it wasn't even with my consent. And that was the other thing too. Like, I think for sure I would have died or bled out because it was downtown Seattle, and like the ambulance sometimes would never show up. I've called the cops. I've called the ambulance so many times. I would see people overdosing. I would saw people get shot, and I called the cops, and the cops never came. The ambulance never came. I think for sure I would have died, and I think about that a lot. I actually do think that there were so many times where I could have like died, but I kept being brought back. Maybe it was like in some alternate reality or some parallel universe, and that's what I'm living in. And I think about that all the time.
Number 3.
So I experienced a glitch for the first time yesterday. So I'm at work, and I work in a tool crib. So basically we get stuff that is sent to us that we have to put away in the tool crib, whatever. So I'm doing that. There's a bigger part. I've only been in there a few months because I was doing another position before, so I'm still like newer. So it was a bigger part, and I had never seen it before. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go look at what this part looks like, because when it's a bigger part, it doesn't have a bin. So usually we gotta put either a tag with the little wire like attached to it, and then, or we write with a paint marker. So I go and look, there's 2 parts. They each have a tag on it with the wire, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the tag. So I go back over to the table and I go and I write the tag up, and then I'm like, I want to see like how they put it on there again. I go over there and I shit you not, one of the tags are gone. And at first I'm like, okay, maybe it fell. And I looked for like 10 or 15 minutes. I could not find that tag. And then I'm like, it was attached with the wire. So how would it have fallen? It's not like it was just taped on there. And then also there was a step ladder sitting there. So it's like, if it would have fell, it would have fallen there. So it was just gone. And I'm like, and this was in a matter of like 2 minutes. So no one was in the room with me and no one came in. I didn't leave, nothing like that. So there's no way anybody could have came and taken that off of there. And I've been trying to still rack my brain because I'm like, how did that, because let me be real, I believe in glitches and I believe in all that kind of stuff, whatever, but it's like, I've never had it happen to me, so I'm like trying to rack my brain, like, okay, and there's no logical explanation, and then I'm like, okay, I'm like, maybe I'm crazy, maybe there was only 1 tag, but then I specifically remembered touching 2 tags and looking at what was written on them. There were 2 tags, and one of them just disappeared. And now, I know this isn't like a crazy glitch, because I know other people have had like crazier stories, but this to me was still insane, because I never thought that would happen to me. And yeah, has anyone else experienced a glitch? And if you have, share your stories in the comments, because I want to hear them, because I don't know if this is going to happen again, but I still like can't wrap my head around it. So let me know in the comments.
Number 2.
This is a new account, and I'm gonna like throw some stuff out to you guys. We'll see like who catches it. I had an NDE when I was like 12 years old. I literally had an out-of-body experience, and like that was crazy. I'm not gonna talk about that today though, but I think that really kind of shifted my perspective on life and what we're even doing here. And I've also had a lot of like timeline glitch in the matrix, like weird hops that have happened, and I'm going to share one of them with you today because I was talking to my sister-in-law about it the other day, and it's just like a crazy topic, but it's so interesting to me, like the fact that there could be other timelines and other versions of ourselves. But the one I'm going to talk about today was, this was like 2 years ago. I was pregnant and I was in bed, and my husband brought me a pack of sushi, and it had 2 little divots. It had 2 little divots, and I put soy sauce in each of those little divots. It like was originally holding, I don't know, it's like wasabi and ginger, but like I filled it with soy sauce. I took like a few bites of my sushi, right? And then instead of getting up, because I was like big and pregnant and like lazy, I set the sushi container in the windowsill, right? And I looked at it, and in my mind I was like, that's not a good idea, like that's not my highest timeline, like it's gonna get knocked over and then I'm gonna have to clean it up. But I didn't fix it, like I was like, whatever, fuck it, and I like set it there, and then like literally a minute later after I had that thought, my daughter comes in and knocks it off, right? She knocked it off the edge of the windowsill. It fell flat onto the ground. The soy sauce came obviously out of the divots because we know how gravity works, and there was like a soy sauce sushi mess. And I was just looking at it, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to get my husband to clean it because like I'm not cleaning it. So anywho, he comes into the room like 5 minutes later, and I'm like, hey babe, you gotta clean the sushi, it like fell right there by the window. And he goes over and he looks for it, and he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the sushi, if it like fell over on the floor. And he's like, no, it didn't. It's sitting here on the windowsill. And I look over, and sure enough, my sushi was sitting there in the windowsill. Soy sauce back in the divots. There was no mess on the ground. And it was like I shifted into a timeline of that incident never happening. Like, I don't know what else that would be other than like a glitch in the matrix or a timeline hop. And I have so many of these stories, so if this is interesting to you, like let me know in the comments and I'll share more. But like, yeah, I'm very like I like stuff like that. If you like that, if, like, do you like stuff like that?
Number 1.
If you were traveling on I-26 westbound last night, coming out of Columbia, South Carolina, say around 9 o'clock p.m., what kind of glitch in the matrix did we drive through last night? I saw some very questionable things on the interstate last night. So much so that I was this close to making a U-turn through those, or attempting to make a U-turn through those cables in the median on the interstate. I was really scared. I am not going to really dive deep into what I saw last night because I want somebody who also saw what I saw to jump in the comments or jump in my DMs, because I need my husband and my best friend to know that I'm not crazy. Listen, I was by myself last night. I was on my way home from Tampa, and I was not delirious. I'd had adequate sleep. I just downed a freaking Starbucks coffee, so I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, okay? I know what I saw, and I need somebody else to also confirm what I saw. So drop it in the comments, drop it in the DMs. Hopefully there's a part 2 coming soon. All right, here it is, part 2 of the I-26 glitch that you all have been so impatiently waiting for. Before I get into any of the details, I want to address a few of the comments made in the first video. To everyone saying it was the coffee, here's a middle finger for ya. To everyone who was saying, you should have taken a picture, or you didn't take any videos. Oh, this is BS. This didn't happen. I was in the moment, scared for my life. And I don't know anybody with half a brain whose first instinct when they're in fight or flight mode is to grab their damn phone. And if that is your first instinct, I would hate to be you in an emergency situation. Okay? And for the people who were saying, I can't believe she didn't say what she saw. This is BS. She should have just told us. Tell us. Tell us. You obviously didn't watch the whole video because I explicitly stated why I did not go into detail about what I saw. Because I was hoping someone else could verify that they saw the same thing so I wouldn't feel so crazy. That didn't really happen though. This comment, though, is about as close as anyone really got to what I actually experienced. So now I'm going to give you all the details, and you all can decide for yourself whether you think what I'm saying is legitimate or if you think I'm crazy or whatever. Honestly, I really don't care, okay? Because what is it that the people say these days? My truth is my truth. Well, there you go. All right, so let me set the stage. All right, I'm driving 26 westbound. I am about 15 minutes outside of Columbia. I'm not exactly sure where, but I can tell you that it was before the Pomeria exit. I don't know which number that is, but I remember my GPS saying save 7 minutes via exit blah 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 for Pomeria. And look, listen, those exits around there, that is some back roads driving, okay? And I was not about to get off somewhere where I did not know where I was because I didn't want to lose service and my GPS go out. It would just not have been a good idea, okay? So I'm driving and the terrain is literally like, think of like a V, okay? And I mean, it's not that steep, but it's like I'm going downhill and then it goes back uphill. So I could see the traffic was starting to back up. We were slowing down. It finally got to like dead stop, stop and go. And we were doing at the most like 15 miles per hour. So eventually I could see like the reflection of the blue lights, and we're rolling, you know, slowly but surely. But I felt like we were never getting closer to the cops. Well, then finally I can see the cop cars, and they look like they are blocking the interstate because, all right, they're at the bottom of the hill. And going back up the hill, I could see orange barrels on the right side. And essentially what was causing the delay was the right lane of I-26 was closed because they have been doing a ton of construction, which people were talking about in the comments. I'm not, you know, oblivious to road construction. I've been driving for over 20 years. I've done my fair share of road trips, highways, interstates, all of that, okay? But like I said, so the backup was due to the lane being closed. All right, at the bottom of the hill, there are cops, which I am assuming are kind of there, like helping merge the traffic together. But there are no cars going on up the interstate in front of the cops, but we're still moving. And so it's almost like, and I know this is going to sound nuts, but it was almost like the cars were disappearing and my line of sight was not obstructed. Again, I was going downhill and I could see the full road in front of me. So again, I don't know exactly what was happening, but what I felt like was happening were the cars were disappearing. And my first thought was, are they driving into a hole? I mean, I was freaking out, okay? I didn't know. And I'm by myself, so anyway, this is at the point where I start, like, trying to decide, do I need to try to make a U-turn here? Like, because I don't want to go wherever these cars are going, because I didn't know where they were going. It looked like they were just falling off the face of the earth. So as I'm freaking out, now I'm like 20 cars back, maybe 20 rows back, because everybody's still in 2 lanes. All right. All of a sudden, the cops start moving. One gets behind the other, and everybody in front of me starts to perfectly zipper merge into a single file line so that everybody can travel up I-26 West in the left lane. Now, for me, having driven as much as I have, the crazy part was not the fact that I felt like the cars were disappearing. The crazy part was that the cars in front of me all perfectly zipper merged. Where have you ever seen that before? I've never seen that. I've never seen a perfect zipper merge except for like AI or in the little cartoons where they're like teaching people how to zipper merge. And especially in South Carolina, these fucking people around here cannot drive. But that is what I saw. And the thing about the like timeline hopping is when you feel like you've hopped a timeline, you feel different. Like I can't explain it. If you know, you know. But when we started going, when those cops moved and everybody started forming a single file line behind them, something changed. So again, I would really like to know who those cars were in front of me, and I'd really like to know where the hell they went, because they did not continue on up I-26. And no, there was no exit to get off. If you've ever traveled that way, you know that the exits are, you know, they're really close together when you're in Columbia, but once you get outside of Columbia, they're quite a few miles apart. It's not just like one every mile. All right, so that's it. That's my story. Think I'm crazy or think I'm not, doesn't really matter to me. I had to get this video out before a lot of you got your panties so far in a bunch that you caught a UTI or something. Just kidding. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll catch y'all next time.
I want to be a good boy.